Hi, welcome to this session. We're going to be looking at the performance of a website which we have already tested 1 month ago approximately, and we will be checking whether there were any improvements on this website following the latest deployments. So we'll rerun the test, and in the meantime, while the test is running, we will take a look at our connection and our setup, and also the results which we had seen previously. So we're using emulated Motorola G4 probably, and we're using an FiOS connection. The reason why I choose a fast connection is to avoid long waterfall charts because of network traffic, for example, so we could eliminate the network problems. Not that they shouldn't be looked into, but at this stage we're trying to improve a bit more stuff which is not network related, and is actually on the website, for example JavaScript, long time to first byte, etc. And if we take a look at the scores which we had, we've got an LCP of 4.7, so we see that would be somewhere here, probably this image which you've got over here. A very high total blocking time, and yeah, start render quite long, so between first byte and start render there's quite a large gap. This means that we probably did not serve anything of value. Yeah, so first byte between here and here we see absolutely nothing, which can be fixed by serving content in the initial HTML, and at least bring this a bit closer. Yeah, so that looks like that's it that we could look at the moment. What we can do, we can open one of these waterfalls. Yeah, and we'll keep this open so that we will be taking and bouncing back to it as we go along. This test is still running, and in the meantime we have previously noticed that here there's quite a lot of this JavaScript file is quite busy. So let's see what this is. Redux. So you would expect this to be a vendor script, at least it sounds like it should be a vendor script. So I wouldn't think it would be that busy, but we'll take a look at it separately. Quite a long waterfall. I know that from here onwards there's some ongoing polling, for example, or fresh data coming in, which causes these constant 1 to XHR requests, and as a result our waterfall is very long and times out probably exactly at 120 seconds. What we care about more importantly is the first few seconds, so usually I would do something of the sort and look at this chunk instead of looking at the entire waterfall. So what you can see, this is the old run. Save the home page, preload the fonts, render blocking CSS, some JavaScript. Not very busy here, but suddenly gets busy and then gets very busy again. So this might be responding to XHR response. So we requested some data. Once the data comes back, we need to parse it and render to screen. So this is synonymous with hydration, for example, or React applications. A few third parties, some images over here, and some more data being fetched. And yeah, I think that's it at this stage. So let's see how the new test has gone. Well, still running. So in the meantime, until this finishes, that started 4 minutes ago, 3 runs, probably timing out at 2 minutes. We need another 2 minutes. Yeah, we could take a look at how much JavaScript is being served and also be able to compare that. So I'll keep this open here, and over here I want to take a look at the content, so that would be over here. So a huge amount of requests, but this is since the page keeps on going, this might be factored in over here. Quite a bit of images, although I think from what we see here most of these images are below the fold and probably could be lazy loaded. Yeah, JavaScript and 1 megabyte of JavaScript, 3.7 megabytes of other, which I think would be mostly data coming in. 20 megabytes, excuse me, 20 megabytes uncompressed, which is, well, a lot. So let's see if our test has finished. Yes, it has. So let's take a look. The first thing we can see, our LCP has improved slightly, total blocking time has increased a bit, and let's take a look at our waterfall. Okay, yeah, so our LCP is this is not very good. I would say the LCP, or at least the most important part, is still here at 4.8 seconds, and LCP is now this chunk of text, which is, I think, part of the footer. And this also means we've got a layout shift, because first we see this, after a while the data loads, the footer goes all the way down. So we will put that as our first point, as layout shift on footer. LCP element is now the footer text. And okay, here another LCP, this content comes in, the live, you're about to click on it, it just suddenly jumps down. So we need to add that as well. And layout shift, and we'll put them, let's put them in a list. Layout shift on live today, what's that? Rapid bets. Okay, so this chunk right here suddenly jumps down. Okay, and finally at 8.5 seconds the page has images, is fully loaded. At this stage I would say it is usable. At this stage, well, not really. So what do we have here? We've got quite a long time to first byte. This has not changed from the previous run. I noticed that the polling is actually stopped, so that's good. So our waterfall is a bit tidier. It stops at 8 seconds, so that's good. So let's put that on the plus side. Polling is now paused for lab tests, and this was something which we were working on to avoid having polling running when it's just a lab test. And we'll check on this as well. Now we have got quite a long server time. If we click on this, look at C, time to first byte is quite high. I would expect this to be improved, considering that this is in the same region, or it's running from the same region. Time to first byte quite high. Fonts are preloaded, render blocking CSS. We've got this JavaScript. This is still the Redux one. Again, quite busy over here, so probably at 4.5, yeah, that adds up. So at 4.5, we've got the data coming in, and I will change this to 0.1. Yep, not view video. Good. Let's just check that one more time. Yeah, so at this point the data starts coming in, as you can see here, and it starts rendering. So that's when it gets busy. As soon as the response comes, it starts painting, it starts to React starts to get busy. This is built in React, so I know that React starts to get busy. It's a bit unusual that it is inside the Redux file, but that we will tackle separately. Redux, vendor.redux. And let's see the size of that as well. 9117 uncompressed, 117 kilobytes uncompressed. Probably includes more than just Redux. Okay, so download some more JavaScript files. This one takes quite long. Let's see if it's big. Yeah. So this is 837 uncompressed, 436, 249, 36, 163. So we're talking about quite a bit of JavaScript. I think we're again at about 1 megabyte of JavaScript. And we'll jot that down as well. Quite difficult to fix, although if you set up code splitting, lazy load the modules which you don't need, you might be able to get this down. So JavaScript files are quite big and could benefit from code splitting, lazy loading, or dynamic imports, or whatever works. So 580 milliseconds, this sso.html, is this required for logged out users. So SSO, my guess is single sign-on. Would need to check if that is the case, and we need to check whether this can be removed. Having said that, it is got a very high time to first byte and has a TTFB of 474 milliseconds. Not sure if that can be fixed. Some third parties coming in. A common problem with the third parties are taking up CPU and network time before your own data. So at this stage we do not have any data yet, nothing is visible on the screen, and we've already got quite a few third parties already clicking in. Most of these are probably not critical. Render blocking CSS, what's this? Roboto, and there's no use of Roboto on the site. So fonts with the red color are SourceSense Pro, and if we go down here, there's no more fonts being used. So this is where is it? This is not needed. Let's see what loaded by main. Let's open this up. Okay, import. So this should be removed. Remove. Apart from the fact that it is not used, using import is in general a bad practice. Remove import, and Roboto font is not used. I'm not sure why it's also 3 times. And whilst we're here, I'm noticing that this is not minified. So let's copy that out. It's not minified. Okay, already quite a bit to do. Let's see. So we were here, render blocking CSS. This could probably be removed completely. Let's see if we can run it. Run block request URL. I don't think we'll see any significant changes. Well, this is not working for some reason. I don't know why, but we will run we can try run a separate test, block this completely, and see if we see any improvements. Having said that, it's probably not huge, but a free improvement, we should take it. So this is a CDN, sanity.io, where we've got an API. As you can see, this tiny bar here with the colors, this is indicating that we're not pre-connecting to it, yet it is a critical resource. So I would suggest we should pre-connect, and that will move this little bar over here. Won't make a big difference in practice because it's not a lot of time. Yeah, it's very little. So, but still we're doing low priority. So pre-connect to sanity.io CDN, low priority. Okay, we've got some more requests coming in. These blue requests are either coming from the service worker or they are pre-flight. Yeah, so method options. We need to check why we need these. Why we need to send an options request to the API, considering this is a normal GET access control request headers authorization. So this might be why, but this I will have to double check on it. It's a course request, different domain, and probably sending authorization header to check whether the user is logged in. Do we require pre-flight for sanity.io? This probably cannot be removed. Okay, we've got some data. I think that's some data coming in. That would be one of the requests. 107 uncompressed, and probably, let's see if we can load this here. Well, it does not load, or at least I don't think so. And what are we looking at here? So we've got, I'm not sure what any of this is coming from. Probably some headers added by sanity.io. And what's the size? This is tiny, so probably requires to be called from the page to get this 107 kilobytes, maybe related to the authorization header which we mentioned previously. Okay, so not much you can do about there. Time to first byte 537, quite a lot. I doubt this is critical, and this comes not from the CDN, so let's jot that down as something to look into, and let's see what it does. Return to server time. So probably this is needed because it is polling, so it needs to update the server time continuously, not just in the initial HTML. So it's v1/time critical request. Can the first request be embedded in the HTML as a script, so you would be able to inject it automatically, and any future requests they can continue polling, but at least if this is critical, so we cannot show content on screen until the response has come in, then at least we can, the first one, we can include it in part of the initial HTML. Okay, and some requests are on the CDN separate domain, while others are not, and maybe this can be improved, either having one domain for everything or moving some stuff onto the CDN. I think in both cases there's stuff to gain. Fav icon, not important, quite long but not important. Top events, so this is a request probably for the data which we are going to be rendering soon, and time to first byte 46, that doesn't look too bad. Again, quite a high time to first byte. This one for sure is worth looking into. Content download 500, time to first byte 600, so quite lengthy, especially if this is required for showing, well, by the name, probably live live data, live events, live odds, something of the sort. So live has a TTFB of approximately 600 milliseconds and is quite large. I think it was 300 KB. Yeah, 300 KB. Not sure what that includes, but that's probably more data than we are seeing in the initial viewport. Here I've got another one for upcoming. Oh my, that's 2 megabytes. Whoa. Okay, that has to be fixed, whatever. This one is huge. 2 megabytes. Not sure what it contains, but again, we are not showing that much on the screen at this stage or at any stage of the loading, so we can probably wait a bit. And it might be taking up network traffic, it might be hogging the CPU. For sure it's having some kind of impact considering the size, especially on a small device or a slow device. It's going to keep your CPU quite busy. Some more requests, let's see what these are. Okay, some license data maybe, but they're all quite small. Tiny in terms of size and tiny in terms of impact on performance. So that's good. Few 404s, I'm not sure what these are. Might be worth looking into, but again, small impact. What's this? Another third party, maybe like some bonus engine. Used to retrieve bonuses. I'm not sure if there's a bonus immediately visible on screen. Actually, there's this bottom footer. Let's see when that comes in. That comes in quite early, so I don't think that is the same one. Yeah, I don't. We'll probably get the bonus, this little bit down here, from somewhere else. Okay. Yeah, not much I can see here. Some SVGs, some images which we saw at the end are rendered onto the page. Compared to before, I don't think we have as many images. If I remember well, we had 60 images on the previous run. Not here, sorry. So here, images, 67 images or 67 image requests. Doesn't look like there are so many. Again, this campaigns keeps coming in. Not sure, bonus campaigns. A few images, not many, so maybe lazy load has been implemented at this stage. I don't think I saved. Yes, I did. Okay, so some icons. I hope they're visible in the viewport, which should be good. No, polling is still ongoing. Polling ongoing. Yeah. Okay. That's good. That's, I mean, it's not good, but that's it at this from here. Let's go back. And let's check if there are any improvements on the content. So I've got the content here. Same connection. Chrome has updated, by the way, but shouldn't make a difference. So images 52, still more than we need probably. So we chopped off a few images. In terms of size, we went from 204 compressed to 138, so that's good. That's good. JavaScript in the same, and total has increased, so that is probably coming from the live or upcoming data which we saw, this 2 megabytes thing. That's a lot. Initial HTML is tiny, probably doesn't contain much. CSS looks okay. Fonts looks okay. Quite optimized actually at 32 KB for 2 font files. I think we are removing unused glyphs, so just subsetting it to what is used on the website. There are quite a few good tools on this, how to create this. I think we're using glyph hanger, but anyway, what it does is it takes the initial font file and gives you subset of all the glyphs inside the font, so the ones which you don't use, alphabets you don't use, can be removed, and that's actually quite neat. Okay, yeah, so I think this is what we've got at this stage. I will load the website as well and run it from DevTools. We will use a mobile browser. Let's see, MotoG4, as similar as possible to our test, and see what the user uses. No throttling over here. Probably I should throttle the CPU a bit, but that will make my testing a bit painful, so I will skip that for now. And okay, as you saw, it took quite long to load the 404s, a few 404s like we saw before, and quite busy network even after load with polling for fresh data. So let's refresh once more and we'll pause it once we're happy when it has loaded. Okay. Oops, I forgot the images. Let's do that again. Okay, that's loading. When the images have loaded, that looks complete. We can stop. Okay, so let's start. Wow, let's disable the cache. Sorry about that, but we'll disable the cache and refresh this and see what we've got. The reason why I disable the cache is because the sizes of the images, for example, will be incorrect. Okay, looks like it is loaded. We're gonna stop. Disable the cache. Let's see what we have. Anything huge which jumps out immediately. That's the DevTools. That's Chrome extension, so you can ignore. This is one of those queries which we saw. This is a different one, production it's called, or bonus. Again, another one. I'm not sure how this works. It looks identical, being called twice, so we put that down as a note to investigate, and we'll just copy the URL. Copy link address is requested 2 times within the first 6 seconds. I think this is probably not intentional. Our main, we saw the main JavaScript is quite large, 858 uncompressed. That is going to be quite heavy on the CPU, and here I notice it is low priority on main.whatever.js. This is not throttling, takes 1 second to download. This is without any throttling whatsoever. So at a Wi-Fi connection, I don't know, 300 megabit or something along those lines, so that is very slow. And I'm not sure if this served from the CDN. Miss from CloudFront. I guess that's because why would this miss? Miss from CloudFront on JavaScript files. Unless the website was just downloaded or the max age has just expired, then it should be cached on CloudFront and I should be fetching it from there, but this looks like it came from the origin. Okay, and even with this disable cache turned on, I expect we would get the same. The upcoming, this one we have seen already. This is Chrome extension. Miscellaneous vendors, some JavaScript, more Chrome extensions, third parties. Okay, that looks good. Let's check images, anything to fix. So the largest image we have here, 15 KB, so not too bad. Let's see what it is. So there's a 15 KB, there's a 10 KB. So my gut is that this can be optimized down to 5 KB maybe, I don't know. But this can be optimized a bit. So let's jot that down as well. So, okay. Can probably be optimized. Okay. This looks fine. And here I'm seeing duplicate images of the same, that look the same. It's an SVG. Let's see. Ah, yes. You see, query string is different, so this would bypass the cache. So, considering this is an SVG, you can probably put width equals 1, height equals 1. I think this is probably some image CDN, which optimizes images based on these query params, but in the case of SVG it doesn't make sense because it can scale perfectly. So this is not needed on SVGs. So I will put down remove query string params from SVG image requests, as they can be scaled using CSS without any image loss. That looks good. Okay, anything else? Yeah, that looks like this problem is happens quite a bit here. I've got another icon, probably SVG as well. Yeah, 1, 2, 3 are the same image, but we're downloading it 3 times. Even if the cache was not disabled, it would still be the same problem. Yeah, some data, base64 encoding of PNG. Not something I'm a fan of. Might be good in some cases, but usually I prefer to have it as a separate image. Let's see if we can identify what JavaScript file they come from. First guess would be to take a look at main, search for data image. Yeah, we've got 3 hits. 3 hits, not too big, so this is not a big deal. Let's see if there are any more. Oh, there's resources. That looks like a candidate. There's one here, base64 GIF. But that's tiny, or looks tiny. Okay, here we go. So, okay, that's a lot. So these are all SVGs encoded as base64. Firstly, I think that I would probably put them as a separate file, so that you don't bloat your JavaScript. JavaScript is much more CPU intensive. Putting the images inside the JavaScript, they need to be parsed, you're adding more work. Additionally, if one of these images changes, then you need to download this entire file again. And let's see how big that is. That is... I always forget where to find the size here. So the size of that is 65 KB compressed, 194 uncompressed. So that's a bit of a pity to have this base64 encoding. So base64 encoded images, PNG and SVG. There was one GIF, but it was tiny. Should probably be left as image files. I do sometimes inline, usually SVGs, and even sometimes base64 images. So sometimes I do it, but it would be within the CSS or HTML rather than JavaScript, because JavaScript is CPU intensive, so I would avoid it. And here we can see that these files, JavaScript files, are all priority low. Not sure why. Let's see, the initiator is so it's preloaded. Preload link rel preload. So first it requests it, then it preloads it. That's a bit unusual. I'm not sure if the order of this is making it behave strangely. I'm not sure why it would be. Probably we should change this to defer. So let's say defer instead of async. Yeah. Then we are preloading the scripts. Scripts are low priority. I think we mentioned that already. Low priority, yeah. That will be this one. So that I will not. Low priority on and all JS files. And probably these are needed to render the page, because if we take a look at the names of some of these, I think I saw React that is required to render this page, because as you could see before, this is what the page looks like, nothing. So I would definitely look into that. Preloading of scripts. And the preloading is probably not needed, because these scripts are already part of the initial HTML, so we'll know about them immediately, and that is not needed. Yeah, so I think that's all we have time for today. Thanks for sticking around, and feel free to get in touch if you need. Ciao, ciao.